The Kingsman is a 2021 spy action film directed by Matthew Vaughn, from a screenplay by Vaughn and the story also by Vaughn. The third installment in the British Kingsman film series, which is based on the comic book The Secret Service, later retitled to Kingsman by Mark Millar and David Gibbons. It is a prequel to Kingsman: The Secret Service in 2014 and Kingsman: The Golden Circle in 2017. It focuses on several events during World War I and the birth of the Kingsman organisation. It was released in the United States on December 22nd, 2021, and the United Kingdom on December 26th, 2021 by 20th Century Studios. The film was delayed several times from an original November 2019 release date, partially due to the COVID-19 pandemic. It received mixed reviews from critics, grossing $126 million against a nearly $100 million budget, making it a box office bomb. The cast includes Ralph Fiennes as Hollander Oxford, Duke of Oxford, codename Arthur, an aristocrat and spy network leader. Gemma Arterton as Polly Watkins, codename Galahad, a maid and a member of Orlando's spy network. Djimon Hounsou as Scholar, or codename Merlin, a butler and member of Orlando's spy network. Rhys Ifans as Grigory Rasputin, the Tsar's personal physician and also an agent and second-in-command of the Shepherd. Dickinson as Conrad Oxford, Orlando's son, who switches places with the soldier to fight in the Great War against his father's wishes. Matthew Goode as Captain Maximilian Max Morton, or the Shepherd, a shepherd and British Army officer seeking Scottish independence. The leader of the plot to pit the German, Russian and British empires against each other. Tom Hollander as King George, codename Percival, King Wilhelm and Tsar Nicholas, the respective rulers of Britain, Germany and Russia. Daniel Brühl as Eric Jan Hannesson, an occultist and Shepherd's third in command. Charles Dance as Herbert Lord Kitchener, the British Secretary of State for War. Aaron Taylor-Johnson as Lance Corporal Archie Reed, codename Lancelot, a soldier with whom Conrad switches places. Some trivia notes. The first panoramic views of the trenches with the voiceover of the Shepherd, particularly the depiction of the mountains of spent shell cases, are taken from real photographs of the Battle of the Somme. Fought between July and November 1916 with no clear winner, it cost the lives of around 700,000 British and French soldiers and 550,000 Germans. As shown, the entire battalions were mowed down with machine gun fire, and over 1 million shells were fired in the first week alone. As shown in the film, the real King George V did change his last name from Saxe-Coburg and Gotha to Windsor as a result of the anti-German public sentiment. He was the father of King George VI, grandfather of Queen Elizabeth II, and great-grandfather of King Charles III. At one point, Conrad shows his father a white feather, given a symbol of cowardice for not fighting in the war. This was a real-life practice. The Order of the White Feather was a club that publicly humiliated men into military service by directly giving them and sending them white feathers. The order was devised by Admiral Penrose Fitzgerald to boost recruitment and patriotism. While effective, sometimes the wrong people got targeted. For example, in one incident, a wounded serviceman received a feather on his way to the reception for his decoration. The movie correctly depicts the first use of concentration camps by the British during the Boer Wars. It was not a German invention. Oxford's wife, Emily, played by Alexandra Maria Lara, is loosely based on Emily Hobhouse, a British activist who exposed the deplorable conditions of these British concentration camps during the Second Boer War. The character of the Shepherd is partly based on Fritz Joubert Dukens, a South African soldier who spied for the Boers during the Second Boer War and the Germans during World War I and World War II. Dukens became known as the man who killed Kitchener due to his claims of directing a U-boat to sink the HMS Hampshire. In real life, Prince Felix Yusupov claimed Grigory Rasputin consumed tea and cakes and then wine, all of which were poisoned with cyanide. When that failed to kill him, Yusupov shot him in the chest. Later, after impersonating Rasputin to make it look like he returned home, Yusupov checked on the body, only to be attacked by a very much alive Rasputin, who proceeded to chase him into the palace courtyard, where Vladimir Porushkev shot him again. The body was then dropped into the Malayan Nevka River. Tom Hollander plays King George V, Tsar Nicholas II, and Kaiser Wilhelm II, who according to the film are cousins and descended from Queen Victoria. Although the casting of the same actor in these three roles may seem like a joke, it actually stays very close to historical truth. In real life, George and Wilhelm were first cousins, both with grandchildren of Victoria and Prince Albert, and the two shared a strong resemblance. Nicholas and George were also first cousins, as they were both grandchildren of King Christian IX of Denmark, and they similarly shared a strong resemblance. They could even pass almost for twin brothers. Nicholas and Wilhelm were only third cousins, as both were descended from Emperor Paul I of Russia. Nicholas wasn't descended from Victoria, and the two had never met until George's wedding, when Nicholas was only 25 years old. Nicholas later married Victoria's granddaughter, Princess Alix, making her his grandmother-in-law. Lord Kitchener was a real-life figure, a veteran of the Boer War who was killed when his ship, HMS Hampshire, hit a German mine while en route to Russia on the diplomatic mission in 1916. The film recreates the ship faithfully, and her name is seen briefly on the newspaper Conrad reads about Kitchener's death. The failed assassination attempt of Archduke Franz Ferdinand by Negento Kabravenik, a co-conspirator of Gavrilo Princip who threw a bomb at the Archduke's car, is a true historical event. The bomb bounced off the car and didn't harm Ferdinand nor his wife, but severely wounded the occupants in the car behind them. Hours after this failed attempt, the couple insisted on visiting the wounded at the hospital. A different route for the motorcade was planned out to avoid the city centre, but due to miscommunication about this altered route, Ferdinand's car took a turn onto the wrong street. Princip was actually at a cafe, contemplating a new assassination attempt along Ferdinand's original return route, when Ferdinand's car unexpectedly drove by and stopped close to where Princip was standing. He didn't hesitate and shot Ferdinand, along with his wife. When Adolf Hitler is revealed at the end of the credits teaser, he is not wearing his trademark small moustache, but a full handlebar moustache. This was Hitler's look around the time of the film's setting. His famous moustache came about when his superiors in the Bavarian army ordered him to trim his moustache so that his gas mask would properly fit on his face. Now I find myself really enjoying this film. I love the way the film mixes fiction with, of course, the real-life history of World War I, intertwining these most famous of characters from our past into the whole creation, of course, of the famous Kingsman Secret Service. Look, with the exception of a few of the characters and some of the stories, most of it's actually pretty accurate, in a tongue-in-cheek sort of way. For example, like I mentioned earlier, Kitchener's death is actually quite accurate in the way it's portrayed. Even the assassination of Franz Ferdinand is kind of accurate in its own way. And just now the way the film infuses real-life characters like the larger-than-life Rasputin, who now works for a group called The Flock, a group plotting to pit the German, the Russian, and the British empires against each other. All led, of course, here by the mysterious shepherd, whose ultimate goal is Scottish independence. I love now how all the major historical events are intertwined into this group. And the film almost acts as sort of a conspiracy theory as to how these big decisions were made back at the time. The group even includes the likes of Vladimir Lenin later on, of course, and even Adolf Hitler. So look, you can't take a film like this too seriously, but in the same breath, like I said, there are aspects of history that it really incorporates with a sense of grandeur and panache. Even the idea now of casting Tom Hollander as playing King George V, King Wilhelm II and Tsar Nicholas was just a fun touch, as of course they all were interrelated anyway. I thoroughly enjoyed the original Kingsman movies. They were really fun, tongue-in-cheek films, completely over the top, but good all-round fun. And this film, of course, acts as a prequel to how, of course, the Kingsman Agency was founded. Ralph Fiennes is excellent here in the lead role, as you would always expect from him, but I particularly enjoyed the whole cast here. From the fantastic Rhys Ifans here as Rasputin, you can see he just had so much fun in this role. Not to mention his phenomenal fight sequence, of course, with the fantastic 1812 overture by Tchaikovsky playing in the background. To even the likes of Harris Dickinson and Gemma Arterton, who pull off their roles particularly well. And Matthew Goode here is superb as the main villain. Look, all in all, you watch a film like this to escape. It's a lot of fun at the end of the day. It's big action sequences, huge sets, and a larger-than-life story that incorporates real-life history into this almost conspiracy effect. I had a lot of fun watching this film, and even though a lot of the critics didn't quite enjoy it, I found myself really just letting go and having a lot of fun. From its larger-than-life storyline, fantastic action sequences, good character work by some strong actors, The Kingsman gets an 8.5 out of 10.